Fistful of Lead core rulebook. We're going fantasy today, and we're playing the miniature war game.
Today we're going to do the Dark Lord and his races of evil going up against the High Elves. And you may be wondering, why do I have so many figures on the table if this is Fistful of Lead? Don't you usually only have 5 guys on a side? Yeah, that's true. But my Dark Lord here in the center, he took Inspiring as one of his attributes. Normally, you can only trade one of your regulars for 3 mooks. But with Inspiring, you can take an extra regular or 3 mooks. That gives me 6 guys. And so the guys you see on the right-hand side here, those are all mooks. They only have 1 wound. They roll d8s. Ooh, I better write that down so I don't forget. In combat, they're really not great. And each has a characteristic. So these guys in the back, they have swords. I mean, they're at +1 melee. And the guys in the front have, what do they have? They have a bow and a knife. And they took Deadeye as their ability. So they have +1 when they're shooting with those 3 little bows. They're kind of a nuisance. Over here on the other side, we've got Wolf Riders. And rather than buy mounts, I'm just treating these figures as figures. Normally in Fistful of Lead, if you have a mount, that first wound knocks you off the mount runs away. So it's kind of like an extra wound and you move faster. I just said, look, I'm going to treat these guys as weak. They have 2 wounds, and then I'm going to give them sprint. So that means that they can... Oh, right, so weak gives them an extra attribute. So that gives them sprint, so they can move 3 inches faster per move, and charge, which means when they charge, they get a +1 to melee. They're just holding swords, so they're at +1 to melee, and they'll be rolling d10s. Then we have the big bodyguard, the Ogre Most Foul. He is a brute, so he rolls d12 in melee. He is large, which means you get a +1 when you shoot at him, which is likely to happen. He's got 4 wounds, and when he whacks you, he's at +1 to the wound roll because he's so big, but he's also carrying a big old stick that gives him an additional +2. So when he bunks you on the head, that's a total of +3 to the wound roll. Yeah, he's terrifying. Now, the Dark Lord himself, you can see he's a spellcaster, and since I'm just using the generic version of the core rulebook, I had to come up with a way to make him magic, and to do that, I just gave him an assault rifle. Also, he's a medic, so he can heal his boys if he's touching them on a 5-up. He takes an action on a 5-up, he heals 1 wound. That may come into play, particularly with his bodyguard there. And then he also has +1 to shoot because he's got Deadeye. So there you go. Inspiring, he's a medic, he's got Deadeye, and then I give him an assault rifle, and that kind of rounds things out. Now let's take a look at the elves. And here's our elven warband. I forgot to mention the 3 sword-wielding mooks on the orc side. They have shields. -1 when you try to shoot them. The elves, I did the same thing with the mounted figures. Rather than by mount, I said, look, these guys are shy. So they're at -1 when they fight melee. Now, they are rolling d10s, but they kind of want to stay away. They have sprint, which gives them a 3-inch movement. They do have spears, so they can attack with a range of 2 centimeters. So they can get close to you and get stabby, where if you win the fight roll, they still don't take any damage. The entire team has light armor. That's their group trait. And then the guys on the outside here, they have bows. They're snipers, so they re-roll failed shots. They're just bowmen, regular guys. They're rolling d10s. And then the champion there in the center, he has heavy armor. I bought the upgrade, so he saves on a 5-up. He's a veteran, always rolling d12s, and he is quick, so he has an extra +1 centimeter to all of his movement. He is also determined, which means he ignores shock and wounds in battle. He has a sword, which gives him a +1 to melee. I should point out, the bowmen have knives, so they're always going to be rolling d10s at best. If they're not shooting, they don't get any bonus, because that's really all they're good at is shooting. And we're ready to go. Let's take a look at the terrain. We're gaming on the road, so that means centimeters equals inches. This stream here has a bridge, which you can cross freely. It has a ford, which you cross at half speed. You cannot cross anywhere else. The edges of the stream, the green lines, are tall bushes and swampy areas, and the green verge obscures line of sight. If you try to fire over the stream, you're going to be at -1 to hit. Likewise, with this terrain piece here, it obscures line of sight. It slows you by half. Anytime you shoot into or out of or through that terrain piece, that's going to happen. The hill is an interesting case. It blocks line of sight over the first half. That's it. Once you're on the other half,
you've passed the crown of the hill. We've got some ruins down here, the block line of sight, that give you a +1 or a +2. These hedges, both around the ruins and over here by the house, are going to give you a -2 to shoot, and it costs a full 3 inches to clamber over those. Those are more like hedgerows. The house, of course, and this thicket block line of sight, and they block movement. I don't want to do a simple line them up and run at each other scenario, so we're going to do a treasure hunt. You see the 6 tokens here, one on top of the hill, one on the riverbank. There's one in the wood pile. It's not the whole house. You got to search the wood pile. A figure that moves into contact and spends 1 full action can flip that tile over. The number 1 is a trap. The figure has to make an 8-up skill check or suffer 1 wound. On a 2, it's a jump scare. The exact same thing. It's a 5-up skill check or the figure suffers 2 shock. There's a 3 and a 4 somewhere. I don't know which is which. Those are nothing. A 5 is a good luck charm. The figure gets a free reroll to be used on any die roll that they want. And then a 6 is a treasure. If your side can get the treasure and get off the table, you win the battle. Well, you have to get back off your entry point. So I'm going to roll a d4 for the elves. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be the entry point. The opposite corner will be for the orcs. On a result of a 2, they're going to come on the table up here in the upper right. Both sides have to deploy within 6 centimeters of the corner. It's a little crowded down here. Speaking of a little crowded, I don't want to throw 11 cards down on the table. It's going to get way crowded. So what I'm going to do is break up both sides into groups. The leader, the specialist, are each going to get a card. The 2 warg riders will get a card. And then each of the mooks down here will get a card. So that's going to be 5 cards on this side. Actually, I'm going to do 1 card for all of the mooks. So 4 cards on this side. The elves way over here, they are going to get 3 cards per turn. 1 for the mounted boys, 1 for the leader, and 1 for the archers. Now that means that we're going to be, how do I put this? There's good and bad. The good news is it's going to make everything go a lot quicker, which I appreciate as a solo wargamer. The bad news is the elves only get 3 chances to get a special card instead of 5 every turn. And it's not quite rules as written, but these are the sacrifices you make when you're playing solo. So we get a jack, a king, and a 6. And over here for the orcs, we're going to get the leader gets a 10, the ogre gets a jack, the riders get a queen, and the mooks get an 8, which means our king of spades goes first. The elven leader gets to move first. And I'm going to just, this is a turn for movement only, so I'm just going to move everybody in the order that they go, and then we'll take a look at the situation. After the first turn of movement, everyone is declared. The wizard and the 3 sword-armed mooks are obviously headed north. Looks like ogre is going to flip that chip on the next turn. The warg riders are headed over this way, but they're going to be countered by the bow elves. Looks like the leader's going to flip a chip on the next turn, and these guys might be close enough. I'm not quite sure yet, but they are definitely riding into danger as the spellcaster is going to be ready to blast away. That's the end of the first turn. Let's deal some cards. The ogres down here in the foreground looks like they're going to be going fairly late in the game. The highest card is the King of Hearts. That's the elvish leader. This game could be over really quick. He's going to move just to this side of the hill. He's out of the line of fire. And, I mean, if this is a 6, he's going to run off the table. We're going to be done. It's a 4. He finds nothing. That does slow him down just a little bit. The next highest card on the table is the ogre, who's going to do the same thing down here. He moves into contact, but we'll move him up here just a little bit more. We're going to steal that, like, 2 centimeters of movement before we flip over the treasure. We get a 5. So Mr. Ogre, I'm going to put this right under him. Not only is he rolling d12s, he's got a reroll. Oh, man, that's going to be brutal. Oh, he only rolls d12s on the melee. Now it's time to check the distance here. Remember, these are horses. They can sprint. They are 9 centimeters away, so they can actually reach and flip this over, and we find 2. So, since both of these guys searched, I'm going to make 2 checks for these guys. They need a 5 or better. Do they have any abilities that might help them? They're mounted, so they get -1 to melee, but they do have that sprint and the spear. They don't. So I'm going to roll twice, and I need to get a 5 or better. Does the card help? The 9 does not. If it's a 7, you get a reroll. So we get a 9 and a 15. They pass. No shock for them, but that is the end of their turn. It's not going to be as quick as I thought it might. The next to go is going to be these Warg Riders right down here. And they're going to be able to move. Now, remember the hedge costs 3 centimeters to cross. Normally, they can move 16 centimeters, but since they're jumping the hedge, they're going to wind up right about here. And they want to hug the side of the battlefield because they know these archers are going to start plinking away at them. Archers have a range of 18 centimeters. They're too far away yet. We'll have to wait for their turn to see what happens next. Likewise, if we move right over here, the guy with the white base is the Flame Wizard, and he's going to step up 5 centimeters, and he's going to start blasting. Blah, 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 blam. He's going to cast Assault Rifle. The Assault Rifle has overall a general range of 24 inches. It does have burst. So if these guys are in range, there's 24 inches, they are in range. Burst means... It means that you use the burst template, but you're automatically out of ammo. This is the burst template. Boom. It's a little undersized. It's supposed to be 3 centimeters across. And as you can see, mine is only 4.5-ish. But both of these guys now have to make a wound roll. It's just a straight wound roll. And yeah, so we roll and we get a 4 and a 7. The 4 is a shock. The 7 is a wound. And even though they're going to separate right now, so it doesn't really matter which one is which. One of them is going to fall over, and we'll put the wound marker under him. The other one receives a shock marker. When you receive a shock marker from fire, you have to move 5 centimeters away from whoever shot at you. That's going to drive this horseman back here into cover, like so. So he's out of line of sight. Here's line of sight to the wizard. So he ducks and covers. Then we have our archers. They are going to have to move up because remember, we're looking to take a couple of pot shots at these riders. So we go 5 centimeters and we check and they are just within range. The archers are snipers. They can re-roll failed shots. I'm going to take 2 shots from these guys to these guys. And we are looking for, at long range, we need 8 or better. Because they moved, let's see, if you used your first action to aim, you get +1. We didn't. There's no cover. They're not large, small, huge, anything like that. So we just need an 8 or better to hit. With a 4 and a 5, they are both misses. Oh, you know what I forgot? To help me remember what's what, the leader over here, I'm going to put a green marker under him. He's going to have to spend 2 actions. And this is fine because I need to bring my sword guys are going to run up 10 centimeters and they're going to wind up blocking him so he can reload next turn. The archers, remember, if they shoot over this, they're going to be at -2. So we can move them 10 centimeters. Let's go ahead and swing them up in this direction. That way they can start taking shots at, into this area. Maybe they can scare off that elven leader. That's the end of the turn. We've got 3 of our tokens found. Let's deal out some cards. And this time I'll show you how legit I am. I'm going to cut the cards to prove I'm not faking it. I'm going to deal out to the elves first. Joker, I always forget to take those out. The leader gets an ace. Oh, we would have been done better to get the ace on those horses. And then for the orcs, I'm going to start on this side and move in that direction. So 10, the ogre gets a 6, the mooks get a 2, and the leader gets a 2. So the orcs are having some serious issues with motivation. The highest card is, well, we could move the leader first if we wanted to, but we can move him whenever we want. So I'm thinking maybe, does it make sense to move him right now? I don't think it does. We're going to move these guys first. So we go 10, jack. We could get a +1 on our shooting. I don't think we need any of those bonuses, though. Is there anything here that would come in handy for him? So here's a list of all the special card abilities. If we go on the Queen of Spades, then we remove all shock markers. On the Queen of Hearts, we remove a wound. Man, that wild card would have been good on those guys, huh? We could have healed that wound up. Target is on the... Oh, that's not it. let's see. One-eyed jacks give you +1 to shoot. The other jacks give you +1 to melee. The 7 cards let you reroll 1 die result. We may stick with that. Getting a reroll is always worth something. So we'll move these guys first. Once again, because they're just moving, they can move 6 centimeters to the bridge, and they ride straight across at no movement penalty. So they now have benefit of the cover of the hedges here. That's them. Next up is going to be the ogre. Strides forth. He is 8 centimeters away from the center, so he's only going to be able to get 1 centimeter into the woods. And then, he was moving on the 6, right? So so he's on 6s. These archers are going to be on 5s. If they take a shot right now, they will be at +1, which will counteract the -1 for the terrain. I think that's what we want to do. We're just going to stand there, and we're just going to shoot at Mr. Ogre. He's going to be a tough one. We're going to take 2 shots. It's going to be 8 or better because we are within... he's out of range. So if we want to shoot at him, we're going to have to move up 5 centimeters, and then... they're still out of range. How about that? Let's go ahead. We got to move the 10 then, I guess. So we'll move up another 5. That puts them right there. Facing doesn't really matter in this game. And then we have to roll for these guys. Now, they activate on the same card, but they don't have to do the same thing. This horseman is going to use both actions to try to stand up. He has to make a recovery roll. And on a recovery roll, when you're wounded, if he rolls a 1, he's out of... you know what I didn't check, though? These guys have light armor. I got to roll for that. The guy who was wounded on an 8 or better is not wounded. He got a 6. The guy who is shocked is also still shocked. Okay, so now we roll for recovery. And on a 7, he can stand up, but that's it. Well, actually, that's a 6 because you have a -1 due to the chip under you. The wounds give you -1 on that. This other guy, he's going to go ahead and ride 16 centimeters. Should put him right about here. Except, let me measure that one more time. That's 6 to here, and then it's going to be another 10 to here. So that's as far as he can get. Except, each of those actions, he's at -1 to his movement, so we got to move him back 2 more. Oh, boy. He might actually get hit. Now we've got our pairs of 2s. Roll 2 dice, pick the best. The orcish footmen are going to race up to here. They don't have enough movement to get to the rider, and our wizard is going to go ahead and just reload. So he's ready. He took his short rest, if you prefer, and the last guy to go is going to be our boss man, who, come to think of it, didn't we say that moving uphill was half speed? This would be the turn, so if he was 16, he would have to move 6 to get to there. This would be the turn where he investigates that chip, but I'm going to give him just a little bit more movement. We're going to move him to right there, I guess. So he would move to the backside, and we're going to call that half speed anywhere on the hill, going up or down, and that's basically all we can do. Probably should have sent the archers up there. Be that as it may, it's time for the next round of cards. You may not believe this deal, but it is what it is. The archers down here with the ace of clubs want to go first, but even if they declare king of spades, the elf champion gets to go first. And he is 5 centimeters from the edge of the hill, so he's got to run to there. That's as far as he can go. The king of spades always goes first. And if you have 2 wild aces and they both want to be king of spades, you go by the suit. These horses get to go first, but they're waiting for queen. They want to drop that queen of hearts so they can recover a wound. It's the only way to do it, unless you've got a medic on your team like the wizard. The medic with the assault rifle. That means these guys can go next. And I think they want to. I think they're going to fire at this guy with the +1. They are within long range, so they're hitting... only one of them is. They're going to have to move up. And if they move up there 5 centimeters to here, now they can take a shot. For the bows, it's 9 centimeters, and they're 13 away. So they need an 8 or better but there's no cover. So we got 3 dice this time, looking for 8s. Oh, except, you know what I forgot? Those guys, I didn't forget, I remember just in time. They only roll a d8, they're mooks. I get a 6, I get a 6, and I get a 5. So no hits on those archers. Now, the Queen of Hearts gets to go, and the Queen of Hearts fixes that wound. And not only that, whoops, let's pick that up. Not only that, but this guy gets to move 9 centimeters. He's going to be able to run to here, and on the next turn he can search that wood pile. The Jack comes next. Wait, we already did that ace. So the Jack comes next. The Ogre is going to have to use, that's one movement. He's going to use both moves to get into contact, and as his first action next turn, he can search that location. The archers get to go, and they are 9 centimeters away, so they're not going to move. They are at short range. They're hitting on 5s. Oh, but it's 6s because of the terrain. Oh, but it goes back to 5s because they are taking aim. Oh, but I think I forgot on the last turn. They are snipers. They get to reroll misses. Looking for 5s. They get a 10 and a 7, so that's 2 hits on the big guy. The big guy, now he is... Oh, and they're at +1 on that, too. I forgot, because he's large and in charge, Mr. Ogre is going to be... It's +1 when shot at. But he is going to be rolling... Does he roll D12? When you're large... Oh, he's got 4 wounds is the deal. So I make 4... I still make the 2 wound checks. With a 2 and a 3, he's going to take a couple of shock markers. And he's going to have to... He's going to have to get out. He's going to have to fall back the 5 centimeters, but, except he can re-roll one of those. Do we want to do that now? He's got to fall back either way. I think we wait for the wound check. So he's going to have to fall back. Normally it would be 5 centimeters, but because he's in rough going, he can only fall back 2.5. That's going to be the end of their turn. Next up, we're going to drop in and take a look at these Warg Riders, because they are absolutely close enough. They're only 5 centimeters away from this thing. So they're going to ride into contact, flip it over as their second motion, and they've got the loot. So I got to nominate one this time. I'm going to nominate this guy. This guy will be the blocker. This guy will be hauling it out. That definitely changes the nature of the game. Our boss man is going to race up to here. Let's see. 10 is right there. He wants to maintain. He's going to basically duck behind cover. He wants to maintain a line of sight, though. If he's within 12 centimeters of the Ogre, which he is right here, he can use he doesn't use an action. He just can inspire the Ogre. He removes 1 shock marker. That's one of the benefits of being a leader. The game has now changed focus. Nobody is going to worry about either of the remaining 2. One of them is a trap. So those remaining 2 tokens are garbage. Now it's a question of, can the elves stop the orcs, and here they are in their wargs, can they stop them from making it back off the table on their corner? Probably not with a deal like this. Mr. Ogre is going to move, it's going to cost him 4 centimeters to get out of dodge. Actually, that's going to cost him 8 to get out of dodge. He does you know what? The mooks get to go first. These mooks are within 10 of this rider. But do we really want... Okay, what do we want to do here? Do we really want a dogpile? We do. We're gonna dogpile. We got 3 mooks on this rider. They get to go first. They're going to move in, and we're going to handle some hand-to-hand combat. I know I did him out of order. Don't worry about it. The leader has to go yet. And the other thing I want to do is these archers are going to slide over here and basically try to block that rider from coming around this side of the ruins, moving into a blocking position. Now with this, things get a little complicated. Remember, our riders are shy, so they're rolling a d10 -1 for their total score. And they don't act up until the 4. So he gets a total score of 2. I'm going to leave that 2 right there. This might not go well. Now we roll to see the orcs. And the orcs are going to get a 3, so they win by 1, by 3, and with a 4, 1, 3, and 2. So 1, 2, and 3. But they have swords. Do they not? The mooks, +1 to melee. They have shields, so that doesn't matter. All that does is it negates when they're outnumbered. So they're at +1 to melee. So they win by 2, 3, and 4, which means we have to make 3 wound checks. Now, the wound checks are at D8, but those are going to be at evens, +1 and +1. So first we'll roll for the even, and he gets an 8, and the model is on an 8 or better, he negates that. Nope, he's out of the game. So see, those mooks can be dangerous if you get them in the right place. That's it for them. We've moved these guys. The leader man gets to go next, and he's going to... Boy, what do we want to do with him? Let's hold our action for the 7s, because these archers are going to go next, and we know what they're going to do. They're going to turn and face the ogres. They're hitting on... Now, they are snipers, so they get rerolls. Because of the range, they're going to be hitting on... Well, it's 18. They're within 18, so they're going to be hitting on 8s. It's going to be 7 because they're shooting across the stream, so there's obscuring terrain. Oh, 9s, I should say. Hitting on 9s. Is there anything else? If they don't move, they're aiming. They're going to be hitting back to 8s, and I think that's it. Except they get to reroll. So hitting on 8s... They get rerolls, 2s and 3s, so they're going to reroll both of those. They get a 4 and a 10, so they score 1 hit on the nearest figure, and that 1 hit is going to be a 2. That will give him a shock, so he has to move 5 centimeters away, which will put him somewhere like right over here. Not that big a deal. Could have done better there. Maybe would have been smarter to move up a little more when these guys run away, but you know, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Our leader over here is going to race to there. He's going to try to run up and cut him off. The elves are badly out of position, aren't they? Now the 7s get to go, and that means our Shooter McGavin is going to unload with his blast. Oh, he just blasts him. There's only one figure there, so we'll put our little reload marker. That figure has to make a wound check. He gets a 2. Now he does get a reroll, but we'll stick with the shock marker, which forces him back. Oh, he also gets a save. And the save is on a 10, so nothing happens. That will do it for our leader. He doesn't... Oh, you know what we should have done is moved him back a little bit too. Oh well, live and learn. What are you going to do? Now we got a couple of 4s. Who goes next? This rider is going to go... Now he can... Remember, he's wounded, so he only moves 8. He can only move 14, and that gives him just enough that he can stop right here. And remember, his spear gives him a range of 2 centimeters, so he can fight one of these guys, and it'll be D10 versus D8. And if he loses, then he won't take any damage because he is at a remove. That's one of the advantages of the spears. They allow you to reach out and touch someone. Does he have any other bonuses other than that? The mounted, he's -1 to melee, so he loses by 1 to 2, but he doesn't take any damage. That means it's down to the Warg Riders going last, and of course, they are just going to hoof it. They're Warg Riders, so it's not hoofing it. They're going to paw it. This guy is... call it 3, 6. That gives him another 10 centimeter. He's going to be able to make it to right here. And his buddy, whom he is perfectly content to leave behind, can only move 14. So 7 gets him just to the bridge, and then another 7 means even though he is shocked, he is going to serve as an effective screen. In fact, what we'll do is we'll actually bring this guy over here. It's a little further away, but now he's got a blocker. That is the end of the turn. Oh, no, it's not. The leader, on his action, he can actually remove that shock marker from the Big Ugly. Now we're done, and we can drop down a little closer so we can see those figures a little better and deal some cards. We will start with the elves, moving right to left. King 10-5, and now the ogres, we're going to give our leader, gets the queen, the ogre gets a 2, the riders get a 5, and the mooks are going to go on the, still 5 a joker in there, they're going to go on the 5s. So that becomes critical. It goes hearts, oh, this is 5 of hearts. The hearts move before the diamonds. They're going to be able to swarm him, and it's probably not going to go well at all. But not yet. First, our archers have to go, and this screening guy is going to be a real problem, isn't he? Well, you do what you got to do. They are going to be hitting on 7s, and they get the rerolls. This guy is going to reroll. He gets a 2. On a 1, you're out of ammo. Is that true for arrows? I don't think it is. We get 1 hit on this guy in the front, and with a result of a 7. Any other bonuses or minuses? Nope. That is going to wound him. That's really what we needed on the last turn. So the wound knocks him down, and he's going to have to recover on the 5 of spades. And he's making that recovery roll at -2. Stinks to be him. Next up is our leader, who is going to go ahead and reload. He takes both actions to calm his mind and get ready to blast another spell next turn. Then it's going to be this leader, who is probably within 10 centimeters of the ogre. That's going to be one for the ages. Probably could have used an extra +1. Now, the champion and the ogre are both rolling d12s. And that means I need 2 different colored dice. The champion has a sword. He's going to be at +1. He'll be rolling the white die. The big green ogre, I mean, ogres are green, even though he's kind of yellowish, will be rolling the green die. The ogre does not have any other bonuses. So it's +1 to +0. But if this die wins, he's at +3 to wound. Oh, you know, I forgot. He's quick, but he's wearing heavy armor. That's the thing. So he moves at normal speed. The ogre is going to win 8-5. The ogre is going to make his wound roll with a d12 +3. And on an 11, our leader's wearing heavy armor. He saves on a 5-up. On an 8, he makes his save. Instead of the wound, he receives a shock. I think I might have been doing that wrong for a while. When you are shocked in melee, you don't run away like when you're in shooting, but the ogre now has the option of staying where he is, trading places, or pushing the opponent back by a couple of centimeters. He's going to go ahead and stay locked into melee. I think we're happy there. Our leader has already gone over here. You know, so this is an opportunity where if the leader hadn't gone, the ogre could push him back so that the leader could blast him. But we already did that this round, so we're just comfortable. We're going to stay there. That allows our ogre to activate on the 2. Now we have but before he can do that, we have a whole bunch of 5s that have to act. So let's zoom out a little bit and drop down so we can see our, well, first of all, we got to check the guy who is wounded. He's going to make a recovery roll at -2. And with a result of an 8, he is going to be recovery wounded on an 8. 8. That's 6 -2. That's a 4. He's still wounded. Meanwhile, his friend can move a total of 16 centimeters, but he's jumping over the hedge, so that means he can only move 13. He's going to stop right there. And of course, he's going to take the treasure with him. The riders have gone. Now it's going to be the 5 of hearts. Hearts go before diamonds. 3 guys are going to gang up on the elf. Now the 3 are only rolling d8s, but there's a 2 extra, which means our elf is going to be at a total of -3. -1 because he's not great, -2 for each of the extra guys. So the elf is going to roll -3. He gets a total of 7. Ooh, that's not bad. Now we have to roll for each of the orcs. And the first one rolls a 1. So this guy is going to take a wound roll at a total, when you get a differential of 6, that means you're at a total of +2 to the check. And remember, they only have 1 wound. So the 8 plus 2 becomes a 10. He is out of action. The second guy rolls a 4 with a differential of 3. You roll at +1 on the wound check. That's going to be shaken, so he's going to be fighting at a -1 on the next turn. And then this last guy rolling a 5, he loses by 2. That means he's making just a straight roll, and he is also going to be shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Which is unfortunate because having won the combat, our elf will push these guys 1 centimeter away, and now on his turn, he'll be able to attack, and he can only attack one of these guys. We'll attack the guy on, well, alternatively, he could ride and then ride, but I think we gotta get through these guys. So that means, well, maybe we ride over to this side, huh? Maybe that'll work. Because that way we make it harder for the wizard to circle around and blast him on his next turn. Or we force the wizard to make a choice, right? That's the other way to look at it. Before I forget though, on their turn, these 3 orcs are going to race back. You know what? Let's try to run down these archers here. We'll bring them 10 centimeters over to there, huh? See them over there? There they go. They're trying to catch those archers. So the archers they're basically running them off, so the archers can't fire. But we still have to deal with this combat right here. It's going to be a D10 -1. No, -2. You know, I forgot about the shock marker. He's going to be at -2. He's going to be at -1. The orc gets nothing. The elf gets 3. Wound roll at +1 means this guy is eliminated. Hey, not bad, Mr. Elf Rider. Not too shabby. Now we have one last combat. This time it's the ogre. Roll 2 dice. Pick the best. He's going to be rolling the D12. He'll be rolling green once again. The champion is going to get a total result of a 1. Oh, this is not going to go well for him, is it? Do we want to take... Yeah, we do. We're going to take the winning by 2. Winning by 2 means you don't get any extra bonuses on the... So here's the deal. We could re-roll. You know what? Let's do that. Let's re-roll. We get an 8 this time. Okay. So with a result of... wait, he's at +1, -1. So 1v8. The 7 means the wound check is going to be at a total of the wound check is at +3 because he won the combat. +2 because he's got the big club. +1 because he's a big boy. We're rolling a D12, and we are adding 6 to this. With a result of a 3, that becomes a 9, and the leader gets squashed into the ground, just driven in like a golf tee. And that's going to be the end of the turn. And to be honest, that's probably the end of the game. I'm going to cut the deck just so you know that I'm not cheating here. I'll cut it one more time just to prove things. And we're going to go with the elves get a 5. The other elf rider gets a 5. Now that's all we deal out this time because our leader went bye-bye. The wizard gets a 10. The rider gets a queen of diamonds. The big boy gets a king. And the mooks get an 8. This mook also gets an 8. So he's going to be able to close with this elf. But honestly, I think this warg rider just needs to get to within 6 centimeters of the corner. He is, and then ride off. So 12 takes him to here. And then the corner is, as you can see, he is already within 6. So 12, another 4, takes him off the table right there. And just like that, the Dark Lord and his minions, particularly that warg rider, are able to escape with the loot. A different experience. A lot more to think about. A little bit more tactics and strategy going on when you're not just lining them up and running at each other. The addition of the random counters really helps keep this unpredictable and really helps make it feel more like a game against an opponent, even if you are playing double-fisted. Thanks for coming along for the ride. You know the drill. Till next time, I'm praying for you.